Hello. So, game week 25, thought I'd make another video. Few things I wanted to talk about today. I'll have a quick review of game week 24, go over some plans for game week 25. There's a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. One was this question I raised a couple of weeks ago about how do you tell whether a free transfer is worth it or not. I'm particularly thinking about, like, should I use my transfers now and try and get some points now, or should I save them for the chip season later in the season? And, like, how do you measure that? How do you tell? So I still don't know the answer, but I've honed in on it a little bit more. I've gone back through all my transfers this season and kind of like started to get a sense of an answer for that question. So I want to look into that. And then I also might have a little look into I posted this on Twitter, and this is just my rough percentages of where I think the doubles, who's most likely to get doubles and blanks. And I just wanted to talk about the maths that I did to figure that out, which is basically, I'm not trained or anything like that. This is just me messing around with numbers and trying to figure it out. And I just thought it might be interesting for some people to have a little think about how I worked it out, particularly when we come to, like, the question most people are asking now is, like, do we triple captain somebody in this game week 26 double, or do we save it for a potential Haaland double in 36 or another double in 36? So it's particularly relevant for that. So I might talk about that as well. But firstly, so game week 24, I did well. Finally, actually did probably one of the best game weeks of the season. And it was just one where everything kind of went right. Bruno Cap worked out, Ekitike, Krupi, Arsenal defence, Petrovic finally gets a clean sheet, 10-pointer. Alderete was my transfer in. The only downside was that I was, if I had remembered to hit confirm last week, I would have brought Senesi in, and I'm pretty sure I would have played Senesi and I would have benched Krupi. I would have benched Krupi, and Krupi would have come on for Saka. So it was Senesi versus Chow, so that would have been another 8 points if I had remembered to hit confirm. But actually, in retrospect, if I'd actually thought about it a bit more, given that Senesi was a transfer risk, the transfer window hadn't closed, and the fact that I would have been benching Krupi if I played Senesi. If I'd actually thought about it more, it probably was the right move to not bring in Senesi last week anyway. So it's all right. But you can't complain when you've done really well for a game week. So nearly into the top 500k. Top 100k is still my aim, I think. 50 points from it. That would be lovely, but anything above the top 500k, I'd probably be happy enough. So we're heading in the right direction. And it was a weird one to get such a big green, because I guess because a lot of people returned last game week, but I guess it was a few blankers like Rogers, Rice, Wilson. Maybe there's Thiago. Maybe there's just a few high owned blankers. So if you just happen to get on the wrong side of that, you probably got a bad score. But yeah, anyway, I saw a lot of greens that game week. Plans for 25 then. I've got 2 free transfers, 0.2 in the bank. I thought I had 0.3. Let's reset it. 0.3 in the bank. Saka's out. Sounds like Saka's out until there's no point keeping him. You want somebody for the double. It's Saka to Rice is the obvious one. Some people are saying it's boring. I don't think it's so boring that it bothers me that much. I mean, to me, it's Saka to Rice. I mean, I guess if I just look at 25 to 26, just the next 2 game weeks, Rice is really high. So he's the second on this list by the looks of it. Computer's a bit slow. He's second on here. Second best pick. He's got 37% DEFCON chance. That's my projection. And 0.47 XGI in the last 6 game weeks, 0.37 for the season. This is understat data, I think. So that's really good. Like, I mean, I've got Rogers in my team at the moment. He's only 0.41 and 0.31 for the season. Bit more XG than Rice, but they're good numbers. He's been underperforming a bit recently. Yeah, he's on all the set pieces. Doesn't get many yellow cards. All right for bonus. Good for DEFCON. He's got a double game week. Plays every game pretty much. Declan Rice is so I'm not too bothered about that. I don't think I'm tempted to go for a punt on a Trossard, a Maduake or anything like that. So That's quite a simple one for me, and Rice can stay there for as long as I need him. He's basically he'll be a transfer out for 31 at some point. I can either keep him to 30 and sell him in 31, or just sell him in 27 for somebody. I've kind of got my eye on Wirtz at the moment. I quite like. Liverpool seem to be purring, maybe, possibly. So Wirtz maybe. But I'll decide that in 27, I think. There is an option to not bring Rice in this game week. I could just, because at the moment I'm looking like I might bench Rodgers again. Which it does make me wonder why I brought him in the first place, but I nearly benched him last game week as well. Benching Rodgers, so I could just play Rodgers and just do Rice next game week if I want to be really safe, to make sure I've got my triple players ready for the double, but I think that's unnecessary. I think you've got to take a bit of risk. I don't think I need to play that safe. And Rice should benefit my team this game week. He's quite high up for this, for just for 25 on its own. He's still quite a high point scorer predicted. So I will bring Rice in this game week. Let's have a look at this game week. Yeah, the only person who's got Gabriel, Bruno, Ismail Sarr, but then his numbers are a bit skewed because his form is skewing his numbers, so I'd forget that. He's only played one game in the last 6, I think. And then Declan Rice. So yeah, I'll bring Rice in. Feels good. So that's my first transfer, and then my second transfer. The plan was always Richards to Senesi. The plan was always Richards to Senesi. I've got a bit of a pickle whether I don't have to do it straight away. Senesi's playing Aston Villa. Richards has got Burnley and Wolves coming up. I could keep him for those two. Feels kind of nice to do that. Senesi's got Aston Villa, Everton, West Ham, all this kind of business. So I don't have to do it straight away. But Richards is a transfer out because he's going to blank in 31, probably. Very likely to blank in 31. I mean, I say that. It's like 99%, 95%. I'll get onto that later. But he's going to blank. So I've got to transfer him out at some point. So it's just a matter of when do I want to bring Senesi in, or do I want to hang on to him? I could potentially sell Chow as another option. So how do I explain this? So I mean, the Richards versus Senesi thing. If I go up to, I don't know, game week 30, let's say, Senesi's just like way better than Richards the whole way through. Sorry, my computer's been really slow today. Oh no, there it is. Should get there in the end. Senesi's here and Richards is there. Senesi's basically predicted more points than Richard in every single game week, even the Burnley Wolves game. Senesi's higher. I've got him as higher just because his DEFCON chance is so much more reliable. And this model doesn't factor in the bad vibes of Crystal Palace either, which I kind of feel like might drop them a bit. You know, a lot of these numbers are based on when they had Gay in their team, which they don't have. And so I still feel like you should probably drop these numbers a bit more with Palace. So I don't know. They might start to kind of get their act together again against Burnley and Wolves, because Burnley and Wolves are basically relegated now, aren't they? They're like proper down the bottom. Looks like they've given up hope. Yes, I'm a human. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let me do this. Where is it? There it is. Burnley and Wolves. So yeah, they're right at the bottom, and they're kind of. Burnley maybe have a bit. Burnley aren't going to survive. I don't know. So I think they've probably given up hope. They know they're going to get relegated. So they're good games for Palace. But Senesi's just predicted more points on all of them anyway, so I'm kind of inclined to bring Senesi in now. But the only pickle with that is Chow, which is that Chow is. I'm getting a bit nervous about not Newcastle, because Newcastle game week 25 here, they just got a lot of fixtures. They've been playing like 2 games a week for a long time here. 2 games a week. And then here, when they play Brentford at home, they just played Man City in the EFL Cup, whereas Brentford have had a whole week off. Then they play Tottenham, and then even in this week here, they got to play Aston Villa in the FA Cup away, So that's going to be a tough game. And then they've got to play the playoffs of the Champions League as well against Karabag, which is maybe an easy team, but still, it's still Champions League. It's still going to be tough-ish, I would have thought. Before that Man City game, I don't really want him for the Man City game, and Man City have a whole week off there as well. Same with the Everton game. They're going to have to play midweek before Everton. Everton will get a whole week off there. So it's all a bit... Their fixtures are really kind of tough. And I'm a bit nervous about Newcastle. So I could sell Chow. I could sell Chow instead. Keep Richards for Burnley and Wolves. And then in 27, do Richards. I could sell Chow to Senesi. Keep Richards. And then in 27, I could do Richards to Van Dijk. Well, I think my model has him as the next best option from 27 to 31. Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Tottenham, Brighton. Maybe Liverpool will get their act together by that point. Start off a little run. So that's what I'm thinking. Actually, it would be in 28, wouldn't it? Yeah, 28, I'd bring him in. So that's an option. But I'm using an extra transfer there. Richards is... Let's see how I work this out. Richards... this isn't very clear. But at the moment, I've got 3 Arsenal, 1 City, 1 Palace. That's 5 blankers in 31. So to get down to at least... I want to get to 2 blankers because I'm not sure whether Krupi's going to be reliable. Maybe 3 blankers I'll get away with. But if I want to get down to 2 blankers, I'm going to have to sell probably 2 Arsenal and 1 Palace. So that's 3 transfers I'm going to have to make there. I've set it as of only having 1 transfer now because I've already used 1. I'm going to use 1 for Saka to Rice. So that's just locked in already. So that means I'll have, by the time I wildcard in 32, I'll have 5 free transfers if I do nothing else. If I just sell my 2 Arsenal before 31 and my 1 Palace, then I can have 5 free transfers for the wildcard in 32. So that's like any other transfer I make now. If I do Chow to Van Dijk and all this kind of business, any other transfer I make is like I'm eating into that transfer pile there of having 5 in 32. And so it makes me think, well, do I really want to do it? And is that transfer going to be better used in this little period, 35, 36 onwards, and maybe doubles? It might be. It might be. So that's something I've got to figure out. Haven't fully figured it out yet. But yeah, I may just do Richards to Senesi and just keep Chow because he's just... I mean, my model still likes Chow. And I don't know whether Newcastle would struggle that much. That, you know, sometimes I think it's overstated how much teams will struggle. Maybe they'll be all right. But I don't know. Yeah, I've got to think about that. Anyway, that's one option I've got to figure out. And then, I mean, another thing I could do as well on that same kind of topic is like, I could do like Ampadu to Enzo. I've got some money now. If I do Saka to Rice, I could have a little punt and get Enzo in again. Like, shall I use my transfers now and try and kind of benefit from it? And get Enzo in right now. But I think it's unlikely I'm going to do that. I'm just not feeling it. I think I'm feeling super safe at the moment, just feeling like I don't want to do much. But I could look into something like that though. So yeah, I'll get onto the transfers later again, but that's another option. And then the other thing I've got to figure out this week is I've got who to bench. I've got Ampadu, Anderson, Rogers, Krupi. Those 4. I'm pretty sure I'll be benching Alderete and probably Richards if I don't sell him to Senesi. But it's like these 4 are like the ones that are kind of Ampadu, Anderson, Krupi and Rogers. My model, the order that my model has them in, it actually has Ampadu top, which is kind of surprising. Kind of surprising that Ampadu's top out of those 4. Anderson's high, I think. So Ampadu's there. 4.46 is being predicted. Anderson's here, 4.03. Rogers, 3.8. Krupi, 3.91 if he starts, but he's... I think he'll start. I don't think the other guys, Brooks and that, are all back yet. I think he probably will start, so he's probably better than Rogers, but He doesn't play many minutes, Kroupy. And his XGI isn't that high. He just seems to be a very good finisher. I mean, his delta, he's overperforming by like 0.5 there. His delta's like really high, so I don't know whether he'll be able to keep that up, although maybe he is just a very good finisher. So Kroupy, I might bench. That's a tricky one, that. But he's just playing so well, you're kind of reluctant to do that. Rodgers being at the bottom, though, I like the idea of benching Rodgers because I've got Petrovic in goal, and if I bring Senesi in as well, even more so. Like, I always like that idea of just doubling up on one result, but that could be reckless and foolish. Maybe I should spread my bets and hedge and bring Rodgers in, and then just kind of spread my bets. But I think I'm more inclined, especially as my model has him Rodgers as probably the lowest. I'm more inclined to bench him, but don't know. That feels a bit weird. Feels a bit like a waste of money. But Anderson's just great. Like he just ticks along. Okay, DEFCON chance. But he gets DEFCONs in almost every game, so he's almost like a guaranteed 4 points. That's probably what it is. Slight chance of an attacking return, but he's fine. And then Ampadu only gets DEFCONs in half of his games, but I guess he's got a 0.2 XGI in the last 6, 0.14 for the season. He's got a little bit of a chance. The fixture's actually not bad against Forest at home, and it's a good DEFCON chance. Forest give DEFCONs up quite well, apparently, quite a lot. Is that true? Doesn't look true. Oh no, we're looking at DMs, aren't we? We're looking at DMs, not centre backs. So yeah, Forest are quite high. So they give away quite a lot of DEFCONs. So I guess that's why Ampadu's quite high. It seems too high though. He's in like, top 20 players there for next game week. But there it is. That's what the model says. And I kind of trust it, I think. So I am inclined to actually play Ampadu. I've been generating a lot of kind of like trust in these two players. These DM players. I know a lot of people say they're boring and all this kind of stuff. I don't really mind that. I actually kind of feel all kind of warm and cozy with these players. They just guaranteed 4 points every game week almost. Yeah, I don't mind that so much. So yeah, I'm inclined to play Ampadu, Anderson, and then probably Kroupy because I want to bench Rodgers. Unless I do Richards to Senesi, which is also, at the moment, it's probable, I think. At the moment, that's where I'm leaning. So Richards to Senesi. But then if I bring Senesi in, it's going to be the same thing as last game week, where that will probably mean I'll bench Kroupy. That's probably what I'll do and play Chow. But those moving pieces are all very close. They're all very close. So I've got to figure that one out. The only other decisions I've got to figure out is Petrovic versus Dubravka, although I've already decided that I'm going to play Petrovic because even though it's like Bournemouth are a bit dodgy defensively and they're playing Aston Villa, whereas Burnley are playing West Ham at home, Burnley's defence is so bad. Where are we? XGA, they're like right down the bottom here. They've gone south even further now. 2.41 XGA over the last 6, 2.23 for the season. They're just very bad, and West Ham have started to show a bit of XG. I think they're starting to creep up this table now for XG, showing a bit of improvement from their season data. So I think that's good. And then Bournemouth's home XGA is actually really good. When they're at home, their XGA is like second best in the league according to Understat. Now it's a small sample size of 12 games. They may have just played easy games and stuff, but it does kind of bode well. I think that's quite good. And then Aston Villa's XG is just not that high, I don't think. It's like average, I guess. Average XG. They're kind of average. They've been getting better, so it's a bit. I can imagine them getting a goal, so it's a little bit risky. But I just think Petrovic is better than Dubravka though, at least. So that's why that's fairly easy for me. So that's that, and then captaincy is the only other choice. And at the moment, I think I'm going to captain Gabriel instead of Bruno. Again, because my model has him as higher. Bruno, his DEFCON chance against Tottenham, it depends where he plays. Because when it comes to DEFCONs, Tottenham give up the second highest for giving up defcons to opposing defensive midfielders. But is he going to play DM Bruno, or will he play centre midfield or attacking midfield? Because I think centre midfield Tottenham are a bit lower, and I think it's the same for attacking midfielders. I think Transfer Market officially have Bruno listed as an attacking midfielder. So basically Tottenham are very low for giving up defcons for those players, so that's why his numbers are a bit lower. If I list him as a DM, it bumps his numbers up to about 5.95. So Gabriel is still higher. So yeah, that's like Gabriel's got a fair chance of defcon. Pretty average fixture for defcon. It's an easy fixture, Sunderland at home. He's got good XGI. Doesn't get many yellow cards. Pretty good for bonus. Yeah, that's what the model says. Go for Gabriel. So I'm inclined to go for him as a kind of warm up for the double next game week, because I don't know, just to test the waters out maybe. Feels risky because historically you don't normally captain a defender, but I've been on the kind of wanting to have a deeper, more defenders on. Yeah, and I like the idea of having 4 defenders. I'm still into that idea of having more defenders on, not playing 3 at the back, but trying to play 4 or 5. So yeah, at the moment it'll be Saka to Rice, Richards to Senesi, Gabriel cap, Petrovic on, Rodgers bench, Krupi benched, probably that order, something like that. Something like that is probably where I'm heading, unless I change my mind. So that's my plans for Game Week 25. Then I suppose I'll try and have a little talk about this question of, are your transfers, how do you know whether a transfer is worth it or not? So some of these punts I was talking about, like maybe I could get rid of Chow and bring in Van Dijk and stuff, and would that be worth it? Or an Enzo or something like that, or will my transfers be better saved for the end of the season for the doubles? One way I've been trying to figure this out, how do we explain this? So you get about, most seasons you get 33 free transfers. This season we had AFCON, so you get 37. You get topped up, it wasn't 5, you already had 1, so you top up 4, extra 4, that's 37. 37 free transfers, and each transfer is going to make you points or lose you points. The optimal transfer would be to sell what are we talking about? Yeah, it would be if Haaland got injured in game week 2 and was out for the whole season, and you sold him down to the next Kane or the next Palmer for 5 mil, and that player got you like 200 points for the whole season. Like that's like the optimal transfer. It saves you 10 million and you makes you 200 points for the whole season. Optimal transfer. And then the worst possible transfer would be the opposite, where you buy an injured Haaland, you sell the next Kane or Palmer for 5 mil, and you buy an injured Haaland for the whole season, and he's out for the whole season. You play him and for the whole season get 0 points, or you get theoretically minus 200 points you've just missed out on. That's like your extremes. But then in the middle, we never make transfers like that really. In the middle, the kinds of transfers we make are, of those 37 transfers, there's at least a quarter of those transfers will be injuries. I reckon it's about a 1 in 4 rate. So there's a good 12 transfers a season that will just be red flags. A player will be out for at least a month, and it's just an obvious transfer. You've got to get rid of them. So there will be those transfers, and then another quarter will be bad picks. I think sometimes you just pick bad picks, or just a player will just lose form, lose their place, and so they'll need to be moved out, like Foden recently, things like this. So that's the other transfer. 1 sec, let me just check something. Sorry. And then so that's half the transfers. And then the other half of transfers we make are generally fixture plays and kind of sideways transfers, really kind of points chasey types of transfers. And I was trying to get a handle of this, And so I went back through all my transfers I've made so far this season. I think I've made 24 so far. So the first 3 were, I got rid of Saka, Palmer, and Fulkrug out because Fulkrug was just crap, and then Palmer and Saka were injured. Although Palmer actually got 7 points there, he came off the bench and got a goal, but they were kind of injured, and so I brought in a couple of players, Salah, Pino, and Muniz, and I gained 6 points, and 3 points over 2 game weeks. And I cut it off at the wild card because at the wild card it kind of resets. So they were like okay transfers. That's the kind of points you make. Nothing special, but quite easy to get a gain on transfers like that. Because you got a player who's injured and you're just replacing them with a player who's not injured. Pardon me. And then it's difficult to know when to cut these transfers off. But so the next transfer I made was I've made a few in game week 8. And one of them was to sell Foden to Semenyo. Semenyo just got his 18-pointer. And so I did Foden out to Semenyo. And that turned out to cost me 40 points. I've cut it off at 16 because 16 was when I brought Foden back in. So it kind of, I don't know the right way to calculate this. You can cut it off at a wild card. I don't know where the stopping point is, but basically I brought Foden back in, so that's where I've cut it off at. But that actually cost me 40 points because obviously I missed all these Foden points here, which seems crazy when you think it seemed like quite a sensible transfer at the time to bring in Semenyo. But when you look back on it, it was like nothing much happened in these 5 game weeks there, and then suddenly I missed out. But you can't really predict that Foden would just suddenly go on a run. You don't really want to be sitting there waiting for it. So I think that's just one of those bad luck things, I guess. It's just interesting to look at it in retrospect. This transfer, Richarlison to Q, was just a dead spot. Mbomo to Saka. Actually, so it gained me 7 points, but then Mbomo was at AFCON for 5 game weeks. And so you could argue that if I just benched Mbomo for those and just got like even just 2 points from a bench spot for 5 game weeks, it probably would have been better to just keep Mbomo. I probably didn't need to do that. And that was one I regretted at first because Mbomo did quite well at first. Yeah, but that's the transfer that I probably didn't actually need to do. Technically, it gained me some points, but yeah, I probably would have used a bench player over that period there. Alderete to Chow. Alderete was injured, so that's another one. And when you got an injured player, it's pretty easy to get a gain. Not much though, disappointing, but still. Gyökeres was injured here. Gyökeres to Mateta, got a few points out of it, not much. This one, Chow to Timber. I missed Chow's 16-pointer, but then that's just like bad luck, I guess. You're gonna miss some sometimes, but if I just stuck with Chow and not moved, maybe I'd have done all right. Gabriel, another injury. So again, the ones where you have injuries are just, it's easy to get gains here. Gabriel to Van Dijk. That's an easy transfer. This one is the worst transfer I've done all season. This is the one I regret the most. Tarkowski to O'Reilly. That cost me 22 points. Tarkowski is going into a hard fixture run. O'Reilly was looking good, but in retrospect, O'Reilly was an unproven asset. We didn't know too much about him. Tarkowski was just a set and forget for the season, really. And with his DEFCONs as well, 22 points I lost on that. That was until I sold O'Reilly in here whatever game week 24. So yeah, that was a bad transfer. Senesi to Chow was another one I regretted, although because Chow spiked me a 17-pointer there, it kind of made it not too bad. But given that that's a very long period to do a transfer to only end up with just -1 points over that whole period, that was just a waste of a transfer as well. So yeah, my transfers have been kind of crap, really. It's making me think maybe I should just err on the side of doing nothing more often. Mateta to Waltemada did nothing. Semenyo to Foden for 1 game week. Well, it was Semenyo to Foden, then I brought Semenyo in here. So I brought him back in. So again, it's hard to know when to cut these off because Foden was still technically in my team. But I brought Semenyo back in so that, yeah, I got a few points there. Waltemada to Thiago, a couple of points there. Garner to Anderson is technically a bench transfer, so I don't think I've played Anderson in every one of these games. So some of these are a bit inaccurate. But yeah, Anderson has been slightly better than Garner. I free hit in game week 19, so Garner's 16 point or whatever he got doesn't count there. Yeah, and some of these as well, I was changing my formation, so it's not technically Xhaka to Semenyo. It's more like probably Thiago to Semenyo, and here Bruno to Ekitike, and then Gu to Ampadu or something. I was playing around with the formations, but most of these didn't work out that well either. Semenyo was all right. This was when we got the AFCON transfers, and I was just going crazy, spending all my transfers way too much. So I regret doing the transfers, but these ones actually kind of worked out because Semenyo did get me a fair amount of points. But I missed Thiago's hauls there after selling him, and Bruno, selling Bruno again. Like, if I had just kept him and used a bench player when he was out, I would have got his 7 and his 10 when he come back against Arsenal and City. So I keep getting themes like that of like maybe you don't need to sell players, just play a bench player. Or the general vibe I get is that I probably shouldn't be making as many transfers as I do. Just stick with players more. But when a player's out, though, they're the best ones. When we've got players injured and they're definitely out for a while, then makes sense to make a transfer there. Yeah, and then Foden to Bruno this game week was like, that's probably one of the best transfers I've done so far as well. So yeah, Van Dijk to Gabriel the other day. That's only actually gained me 2 points over 4 game weeks, even though Gabriel's been doing well. Van Dijk's been doing pretty well as well. So it's only actually gained me 2 points. And I guess I'm just trying to figure out how many points am I expecting to get from 35 to 38 with my transfers there. Because you've only got 4 game weeks, and there'll be an extra doubler in here. Because if I wildcard 32, I'm going to be bench boosting 33. Hopefully I won't need any transfers to sort out the bench boost. I might, but hopefully not. Free hit 34. So it's really going to be, I'm going to be saving all these transfers for this little period here. I'm going to be saving my transfers for that period there. And what am I doing? Am I going to get any extra points here? I mean, you've got Man City, a team that are likely to double in 36, but I'll probably already have them in place anyway. And then you've got, I don't know where the best place to look at this is. Maybe it's here. Yeah, I don't. Bringing in a player for an extra doubler. There may be some extra doublers you could bring in. I haven't figured it out, but it's like just an extra doubler for 1 game week. You're probably going to get an extra like 4 points on average. You can guarantee it. Or if you get a player who's definitely going to play and not be rotated. But then if you bring a player in early now and you actually got a long period for that transfer to pay off, you might be more inclined to get more points. You know, if you bring a player in for a longer period of time, more time for that transfer to pay off and get more points back. But then when there's sideways transfers, it's much less guarantee you're actually going to gain. Whereas when you bring a doubler in, there is almost a guarantee you're going to get at least an extra 4 points, or at least 2 points for the appearance. It's like a much more guaranteed gain. So I think that's one thing I'm thinking about now, is like, of all the transfers you use, there are some that are more guaranteed to get you points than others. So when you've got a player who's definitely out and injured, those transfers are guaranteed to get you points pretty much. And I think double game weeks as well, bringing in doublers, are another one where it's at least guaranteed points, even if it's only for a very short period. Whereas all these little sideways transfers, and even the fixture targeting thing, like I was Tarkowski to O'Reilly targeting the fixtures, that didn't really pay off. I think I am a more form over fixtures kind of person. Like, I don't think fixtures are. I always tend to think we as FPL managers overstate the influence of fixtures because that's our only tool we have, and we don't want to admit that the game is actually kind of out of our hands and we don't have as much control as we think we do. So we like to grasp to fixtures because it gives us an illusion of control, but we don't really have it. It's like you may as well just get a set and forget and do nothing. That's a bit dull, isn't it? But yeah. So that's my thinking, though. So yeah, I don't know transfers. How do you tell whether a transfer's worth it or not? At least at the end here, you got getting in the doublers is like a little bit more guaranteed. Guaranteed to get those extra points. But I mean, I could make this even more complicated though, because the truth is, we had these doubles of like Arsenal, Wolves, and maybe Chelsea, Everton. Chelsea, Everton was a possible double on the cards, and when you think of Arsenal and Wolves, Arsenal, most people have triple Arsenal anyway, so the double doesn't really make any difference. And Wolves are so crap, and their double is so bad that not many people are going to get in and get them anyway. So it's like doublers, they're the two extremes there with doubles. Whereas Chelsea and Everton are like, you know, I wasn't planning to get any Chelsea or Everton in this period. But when there was a possibility of a double, all of a sudden it's like, maybe I do get an Enzo and a Tarkowski. And if you kind of look at, I mean, Tarkowski versus Senesi for from like 25 to 31 or something, Senesi's probably predicted more points. But if Tarkowski gets a double, he might go above Senesi, but not by much. And so, obviously in a double game week, each players at double will have twice the amount of predicted points as others. But when you do a transfer, most people don't just do a transfer for one game week, and it's probably a bad use of a transfer to just use it for one game week. Most of the time, it's normally over a period of game weeks, and so when you're looking at a block of game weeks, that double game week gets diluted because it's like, you know, so Tarkowski versus Senesi. If Senesi's predicted 4 points more than Tarkowski from 25 to 31, and then Tarkowski gets a double game week, it might just bring him level. In which case, you may as well just keep Senesi. And it's the same with these blanks in 31. Like you know, Semenyo blanks in 31, but there's every chance he outscores somebody who doesn't blank in 31. I don't know who doesn't blank, Enzo maybe or something, but there's every chance that a player who blanks in 31 might outscore somebody who doesn't blank in 31 between now and 31. And so you could just get a Semenyo and just let him blank in 31. So I don't think I feel like the doubles and blanks are maybe not as big of a deal as we might think. And yeah, and I did this little. I haven't got the spreadsheet up at the moment, but I did this. I tried to work out the average amount of time that that a player remains in our team throughout the season, and I worked it out that the maximum you could get it is about 7.5 game weeks or something like that. Like if you got 15 players in your team, and you can, if you use one transfer for each spot, to transfer game player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 equidistantly in between your wildcards throughout the season, each player will remain in your team. The shortest amount of time is 7.5 game weeks ish, something like that. That's the maximum you can do it. In reality, the way we do it is we have what normally happens, we have like a bunch of players who are just set and forget, and we have them for the whole season. We don't even change them apart from wildcards. And then we use all of our transfers just on a small bunch of like 5 or 6 spots that we keep rotating. But even then, 5 or 6 spots, those players are still going to probably be in your team for like 5 or 6 game weeks maybe, as you rotate those 5 or 6 spots in your team. And so basically every double or blank you're thinking of, you've got to kind of dilute it into a 5 or 6 game week block probably to make an effective transfer. You've got to think in that big block. So yeah, something like that. I mean, I don't know, I'm waffling, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So what am I trying to say? Is it worth saving my transfers? At the moment, I don't know. I've got to figure it out. But I think at the moment I'm thinking, yeah, I'm probably going to try and save as many as I can because they're more guaranteed. And I don't know. I just like the chip doubles and game blanks game week season, and I just want to kind of get loads of doubles and blanks. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting question. I haven't figured it out yet. Yeah. And then final thing to talk about, though, that was a waffly aside. Final thing to talk about is these percentages, the chances of doubles and blanks. And I guess the big question people are wondering about is triple captain chances, and what are the chances that Haaland will get a double in 36, and who's most likely to get doubles in 36. So, I mean, there are doubles. The big double will be 33, but most people, myself included, are planning to bench boost there. Some people might want a free hit there as well, so you don't really want a triple captain in 33, I wouldn't have thought. There are other chances of doubles. I mean, I think most of the 34 blanks will just go into 33 if they can. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit of a short notice, but they could just do a provisional announcement again and give it do a provisional announcement and then just pop them in there. I'd imagine that's what will happen. So there's that, but I think it's just Man City Palace are the ones that could go somewhere else. And if Man City and Palace both get knocked out of Europe, then you've got all these like midweeks here, 32 and 35, I guess, are the ones. 32 and 35, they could go in there, but then most people don't really care about that, do they? Because it's just another Haaland double is all they really want. Although 32 would be Chelsea away involved in the double, 35 would be Everton away, and then one of Burnley and Palace. So that's one possibility, but the biggest possibility is 36, most likely. I've currently got Man City at 54%. I uploaded this little sheet to Twitter the other day. I've since tweaked it a little bit, and I'll get into that in a minute. So I just wanted, the numbers seemed a little bit out. I wanted to kind of increase them a bit, but basically it's 50-50 that Man City get a double in 36, and that doesn't include the chance of Haaland being fit at that point, or that Man City will have anything to play for, or that they wouldn't rotate if they're in the FA Cup final. There's a lot of other risks with that double. I mean, personally, I'm not even really thinking about it. I'm just triple captaining Gabriel 26. I'm not going to risk it. It's too risky for me to be waiting for that. But it is 50-50. Man City have got to the semi-final of the FA Cup every season for the last 7 seasons. I think I was talking to ChatGPT about this because I was trying to figure some other stuff out, and apparently that's the case. 8 out of the last 9 seasons, Man City have got to the semi-final of the FA Cup. So if you think of it like that, it actually seemed almost very likely that Man City will get to the semi-final of the FA Cup again. I'm not sure it's... Yeah, I don't know. I think it's quite likely. So, but you just never know. They've got to get through Salford and then round of 16 and the quarterfinals. But if they do, and they stay in Europe, you got Palace. Palace are favourites to win the conference, so they're probably going to stay. You got 2, Man City and Palace both need to stay in Europe for their game to end up going in 33 and 36, and it's like Palace are, I think, favourites, or one of them, to win the Conference League, and Man City could well go quite far, and they only really need to get to the quarters. So Man City only probably really need to win the round of 16, and if they get to the quarters, then after this FA Cup game, Man City and Palace will probably just go in 33. I think I'm still leaning that way rather than Man City Burnley going into 33. I still think it will be a first come first served. It's probably more likely. So Man City Palace will go there, and then the Liverpool Palace game, which may have been forced to have gone in 33. I think that one probably go to 37. Something like that, and because then that gives them an opportunity to not necessarily, because Liverpool or Villa or whoever's involved might get knocked out of the FA Cup, and so that Liverpool Villa game here might not have to come to 36. Anyway, so yeah, Man City Palace probably going 33, and then if Man City get to the semi-final of the FA Cup, Man City Burnley will then, I mean, if they get knocked out of the quarterfinals here, Man City Burnley, it could go in 34, but it feels that's only 2 weeks away, probably too short notice. So it could go in 35 or 36. If they want to try and keep 36 clear, maybe it'll go in 35 instead. So yeah, I've got it as 11% chance of a double for Man City and Palace there to go in 35. Something like that, and then 36. So yeah, the chance of Haaland getting another double though, it just feels. I mean, I suppose if you add that up, you got 54% there and 11% there. Is actually more like 65%. And what are the chances of Man City getting to the FA Cup semi-finals? So I'll have a quick talk about this because this is how I've worked it out. The chances of Man City getting to the FA Cup semi-finals, I've currently got it as 47%. Now the way the pros, I'd imagine the way you're supposed to work this out is to have a team strength index for each one of these teams, all in the FA Cup, have team strength index for all the European teams, every team, all the European competitions, and then just run thousands of simulations, do the maths, and work out these odds. But I haven't done that because I could do it, but it just takes too long, and I wouldn't know how to have an accurate team strength index for all these teams. I wouldn't know how to work that out. So what I've done at the moment is, and I have no idea if this is right, this is just me playing around with numbers and maths, but what I've done is, so you got the odds of each team getting to the round of 16. That's the bookies odds. So Arsenal to beat Wigan is like 97%, Man City to beat Salford 97%. These are all their odds. And then this is the bookies odds that they will win the FA Cup. So 15% chance for Arsenal, 18% for Man City. And then when I first started doing this, I used to just draw a straight line between those two things. And then just this here is just a straight line between that odds and then their winning odds. But the problem with that is that you start to get problems with that where I don't know, like Liverpool and Brighton have like very low odds to beat Liverpool, but then they're relatively high odds to win the FA Cup compared with some of these lower teams, and some of these lower teams have very high odds to get through to the quarterfinals, but very low odds to win the whole thing. And so drawing a straight line isn't quite fair. So I did another method where I kind of went from the winning odds, the winner's odds, and then I just kind of doubled it. Like this all adds up to one. You only have one winner, so that's 15%. I just doubled it, so that means Arsenal. So that all keeps the same proportions of the odds. Just doubled it to get to the final. Doubled it again for each round. But then the problem with that is you get odds like Man City with 148% chance of getting to the quarterfinals, which is obviously too much. So then I did a combination of the two. And originally I kind of did a 75% of this just straight line method, and then 25% of like the doubling method. I tried to get a kind of like a rough number in between, and then I've then since I've drawn a kind of another line with that where I mean I don't even know if this is interesting to people, but I kind of made a line so that the linear method is more stronger at the round of 16 quarterfinal level, and it gets weaker and weaker. And this distribution method of like using the numbers from the final and doubling it becomes a stronger. So that kind of, I don't know. So I've used a blend of it, and basically I'm just trying to get to kind of realistic numbers. It still says 108% there, but then it's not. This goes over. I've had to kind of scale it to size, so it ends up here, because that's like that goes over 8 800%, and there's only only 8 teams can make the quarterfinals. So if you scale it down to 8, then that's how it ends up. So that is how I've worked out the odds for the FA Cup. For anybody interested, no idea if it's anywhere near accurate. I originally just wanted a hunch, and then I just started to kind of fine tune the hunch. So that's the odds of each team getting to the FA Cup. And then, you know, to find out if a team's going to blank or not, you have to kind of, where are we here? It's it will be like, so in game week 34, Arsenal play Newcastle. So Arsenal's odds of blanking in 34 are 41% or something like that. And then and you got Newcastle's odds as well, and then you add them up together. There's some clever maths I won't get into there. You have to kind of figure it out. But so these are the odds of the game going ahead in 34, of it being a blank or not. Hang on, computer's crashed. 1 sec. Sorry, my computer's jammed up, so I'll just see if I can finish this. So yeah, so that's the odds that a team will. I think that's the chance of the fixture going ahead. So you've got 0% chance that Arsenal Wolves is happening in game week 31, or the chance of it being a blank in that weekend. That's all it is at the moment. And then here is like, so where will the 31 blanks go? And this is just my arbitrary trying to figure out where the game week 31 blanks could go. And this is where will the 34 blanks go. So this is me just trying to figure it out. This is my manual guesses of where the 34 blanks could go, and where will the 37 blanks go. You know, mainly either 36, or most of them will just go into the midweek of 37. And then you do all the maths, and it comes out like that. Yeah, less interesting now that I've actually said it out loud. But that's how it ends up. And so, I mean, in terms of doubles, it could be Burnley. They've got a 42% chance there, because I think Man City Palace is more likely to go in 33. So it'll be Man City Burnley if there is a double that will go in 36. If that occurs, it could go in 37 though. It could still go in 37. But then if it went in 37, it would still be a double, I think, in that instance, unless Man City got to the final as well. Then maybe not. Yeah, who's that? Palace. Yeah, and the only other one is Aston Villa Liverpool. If Liverpool or Aston Villa get to the final of the FA Cup, and Aston Villa get to the semi-final of the Europa League, then Aston Villa Liverpool will have to be moved forward to 36, and you'd have a double game week for Aston Villa and Liverpool in 36. And the odds of that happening are 10-20% maybe. I can't really remember. So there's like a small chance, but it's not really something I would rely upon. But then I suppose if you add up this kind of like 60-odd% of a Man City double either in 35 or 36, maybe 37, if you add all these percentages up, and then like a slight chance of an Aston Villa Liverpool double in 36 maybe, you're probably going to get one double somewhere in 36, 35, 37, somewhere maybe. So I guess you could bank on that, but then you don't know the state of the game at that point, and whether the players you want to triple captain will be healthy or injured or not. Yeah, anyway, that's enough talking for today, so I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, sorry, bit convoluted video, but I'll try and kind of clear my thoughts out in future. But anyway, yep, I'll leave it there. Alright, see you later, bye bye.